Hello, Steve Hart 39. Well, everyone's talking about the planned takeover by Netflix of Warner Brothers because it does have to go through a few, jump over a few hurdles and so forth to get there. But yes, it's not good. I didn't quite realize some of the dynamics and some of the relationships. Like, for example, Comcast, I believe, already owns Universal. So that would have basically been like Universal being combined with Warner Bros., which would have been bad. Just like Paramount buying Viacom, not Viacom, Skydance, Paramount buying Warner Brothers would have been bad as well, because it would have been like combining two classic iconic studios. So yeah, but just what could it mean? I mean, there's the issue of movies being put in cinemas because Netflix just is confused. Netflix doesn't seem to understand that what it's selling content is more valuable if it's been in a cinema. So they seem to think if we can get a movie instead of it going to cinema, we'll profit more from it than if we let it go to the cinema, make a bunch of money, have some legitimacy and some legacy and some cachet, and then we put it on our platform, it's going to do better and make more money than just being a Netflix film, which is sort of like being a direct-to-video film back in the day. That's sort of how Netflix is sort of thought of. It's just content, it's just cheap crap made just to fill hours, basically, as opposed to, actual films which are made to fill theatres. And Warner Brothers has a whole back catalogue. Because what I didn't really realise that the issue Netflix had was, although they did make their own shows and had a few hits here and there, they didn't have the kind of content that studios with, a legacy like Paramount and 20th Century Fox and MGM and Warner Brothers have. Because all Netflix was taking all these shows from all these studios and all these movies from all these studios and put them in one place where people could watch them online. Once the studios started pulling their content out and setting up their own streaming services, Netflix was really crippled by that. And although they had a lot of content that they owned and they were making a lot of crap content, their content, aside from the odd show like Stranger Things, really wasn't well regarded, and it really was just sort of filler and content. So the idea that basically for the next couple of years, contractually, everything that's sort of in production that had a release in its contract has to be released. They're only talking at the moment about reducing, this is stupid, they should be extending, but reducing the amount of time the films go to the theatre. Basically, they're going in the theatre long enough to be eligible for Oscar consideration and to make a little bit of money. Because I'm guessing they're expecting everyone to run out and watch them in the one weekend or 2 weekends that they're actually available, and then I guess they'll put them on streaming, and that's where they make their money. Because it just doesn't make any sense. Because I mean, they're just walking away from money. Because you put a film, you pay $200 million to make a movie. You put it in the cinema, even if you only make 300-400 million, and you just get your money back. You've basically paid for your production. Then you put it on streaming. The rest is all gravy. Basically, it's just extra. You pay $200 million for a film and just put it straight to streaming, you're not really going to make that money back. I get that you get a certain amount from streaming and you have to keep, the numbers up and the subscriptions constant and maybe growing. But yeah, this doesn't make any sense. They're walking away from actual cash, actual box office. They are making their movies cheaper and less valuable and less, desirable. So it just makes no sense. They just see themselves as, well, we're streaming, film of the enemy. We have to kill film so we can be successful. I'm like, you idiots. No, you need to make great films that people want to see on streaming. They just don't get it. And it's so frustrating because what I hope happens, I'm just a stupid optimist. I really am. While they are in charge of the studio, and while all these contracts are in place and they have to put things in the theatre and release them as a studio would have, they might actually see some benefit to doing this. And then into the future, keep releasing films into the theatres and actually giving them proper release times where they can actually make the money. Because if they make a bunch of money from films going to the theatre, they might actually realise, oh gee, we can do this and stream, so we can have our cake and eat it too. We don't have to kill one to have the other be more successful, because you destroy your content when you kill cinema. You destroy your content and make your content so much less valuable, and that's all you have, so you're not very valuable. So it's just yeah. So I don't know. I still kind of think Netflix is the better choice in some ways than Paramount or Comcast, Universal owning Warner Brothers, because Netflix didn't really have a back catalogue or an identity. So now they can sort of be Warner Brothers and Netflix. So, but it only works if they allow Warner Brothers to continue to produce films and release them in a way that they can actually be successful, like Warner Brothers did. If they can do that, it might work. But the main fear is they won't do that. And this is a big mess. I mean, a lot of people are losing their jobs. There always is when there's a merger, but this merger is actually trying to erase, like the productions that they had. So there's going to be a lot less people working and a lot cheaper films, and it's just, there's nothing really good about it at the moment. Looking forward, it looks like they're just going to slowly dismantle Warner Brothers and just turn it into content for their streaming service, which is going to be less valuable by the time they're finished with that content. So there's this, even though there's going to be a year or two where things continue on like normal because everything's already contracted and planned out for the films and TV shows that are currently in production, but once their new productions come in, if they don't learn something from what they're managing in the initial sort of stages, then it's just going to be a total disaster and a loss. And it's sort of a slow death. And it's going to be a bit of a death watch. People are going to be watching to see what happens next. And it's going to take years. That's assuming Trump doesn't stop them, because Trump wants his friends at Paramount to own Warner Brothers. And he pretty much can, and I'm pretty sure will, just stop the buy going through, or at least stall it. Because all they got to do, and someone's pointing this out, they just have to stretch it out long enough that Trump is out of the White House, and the next, no matter who comes in next, they're not going to have the same connections to Ellison and push for the same thing. So if they can just drag it out long enough, they will end up getting Warner Brothers. So I think they're going to win, unless Trump's lackeys take some really serious action and somehow manage to totally kill it instantly. Otherwise, they'll just drag it out with legalese, and they just have to outlast Trump, basically, which, considering he's only got 3 more years in term, considering how long things can take to go through the courts, it is actually possible they could outlast him, outweigh him. But we'll see. This is turning into a 10-minute video, but I'm going to stop. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Like I said, I didn't quite realise, because I was thinking, wouldn't Comcast be the best, because they don't really have an identity. They're just like, I didn't know what they were. That's because I didn't realise they had at some point, I think, bought Universal. So they were sort of now Universal. And Amazon has MGM. So I don't mind the streamers taking over like a studio each and having sort of each streamer sort of have their identity sort of linked to a legacy studio. But if someone tries to buy all of them, then we've got a monopoly, and that's dangerous, and that's sort of freaking people out as well, because it's just really messy and no one's happy, no one's excited, everyone's scared. And physical media, Netflix doesn't really do physical media. I mean, I just bought Stranger Things 1 to 4 online, on YouTube, but I'm guessing it's an official release. But Netflix normally doesn't release anything. I know they did season 1 and 2. I didn't know they'd done season 3 and 4. But they've barely ever released anything. So a lot of the classic Warner Brothers films that people have been able to buy and get special editions through places like like Vinegar Syndrome, or some of the more boutique sort of I can't remember their names. A bunch of boutique DVD physical media companies exist, and they release a lot of old films, and these films will probably no longer be available if Netflix sees physical media and cinema as the enemy, they're not gonna let any of that content. They're gonna keep it to themselves or keep it, buried, so no one else can benefit from it. And the idea of like Marilyn Monroe, her 20th Century Fox films have all disappeared. Like, a lot of Fox stuff is just sitting in the vault and not seeing the light of day and not getting any views, not getting watched. So because this is not available, it's just they're just going to find the best content that sells, the most popular, put that up, and everything else will just sort of be just hopefully preserved with the idea of it having some value, but really not being accessible, not being used. So yeah, it's not looking good. I'm trying to be optimistic, but it's not looking good, and it's going to be a mess. It's going to take years to work out exactly how much it's going to affect Hollywood.